Sorry about that. Welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast number 78. This is the one about Jeet Kune and its associated disciplines. This is part 8, Filipino Kali double stick. So we have all seen Bruce Lee whack the stuffing out of a bunch of people using double stick in Enter the Dragon. And when I saw that in 1973, I didn't even stop to ask where that weapon style came from. But 10 years later, on Monday, July 25th, 1983, I saw Dan Inosanto and Cas Magda do a doble baston drill, and I was like, yeah, I gotta learn how to move like that, right? Okay, so as you guys are logging in, you know the deal. If you'd be happy, kind enough to say where you're logging in from and hit the like button and continue to do so if I say anything particularly insightful. Hey, Andrew Weaver, how you doing? All right, okay, so years and years after 1983, I have used Filipino double stick, the drills in Filipino double stick as a concept or a principle to develop attributes and to build skills in different areas of fighting beyond double stick itself. Because, of course, nobody who walks around with two sticks, right? And how often are we going to be, you know, underground in hands dungeon trying to fight our way out, right? So if we're true JKD practitioners, then we shouldn't be practicing double stick just for the sake of being able to say that we know some like fancy twirling tricks and what have you, right? So last week we talked about the list on page 42 of the Tao, right, in the chapter on qualities, and I said that later on in JKD we took to call in these qualities attributes. So right, so I'll go through them again, right? So there was coordination, precision, power, endurance, balance, body feel, good form, vision awareness, speed, timing, and attitude. And last week I issued a challenge to find me one of those qualities that cannot be trained and or enhanced by a Kali drill. And nobody's taken me up on the challenge thus far, right? So, but it's that quality or attribute at the very top, coordination. That's the one that I want to talk about a little bit, and because I think it's perhaps one of the qualities that is most greatly enhanced by double stick training, right? And without coordination, we're not going to be able to do much at all, right? And nobody argues with that. Double stick builds coordination in several ways. First, there's hand-to-hand coordination, as in right side to right side. And then there's hand-to-hand coordination, left side to left side. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. But then there's right to left and left to right coordination also involved in double stick training. Then when you add footwork patterns to whatever is going on top with the hands, all right, now we're working hand to foot, or we're working foot to hand, which is kind of necessary for weapons fighting, but also for empty-handed fighting, correct? Right? So let me see if I can, if I have it at hand. I probably don't. I messed up on that one. I should have had it at hand for you, but it's. Oh wait, no, it's not here. Right? It's in Jeet Kune kickboxing. Tim Tackett and Chris Kent's book, and there's a section there where they talk about hand to foot and foot to hand. So that's a clue, okay, guys? Right? So if we expand on this, right, let's talk about actual double stick motions. So my friend and JKD, most recent JKD Dialogues partner, Terry Valor, is on here. And it's funny, Terry and I were just talking, and it had nothing to do with my broadcast. He just on his own, he talked about double stick, and he says that there's just some drills that he does, like he doesn't spend time with all of the possibilities, right, in the double stick drill. So I thought that was kind of funny, right? The thing I wanted to expand on and talk about, last week I introduced you to two of the Rebels concepts, right, which were a thing that I call universality of motion, right? So I told you about Kali being the art of understanding hand and body motion with or without a weapon. And then I also told you this phrase, the stick in Kali is the training method for itself, the blade, and some aspects of empty hands, right? So keep in mind that in JKD, what we're constantly looking for is that which is most efficient, most personally suitable, that which is most useful for our purposes, let's say, right? Which is pretty much for fighting, okay? So let's take a look at one particular double stick pattern. Well, actually, it's more than one, but you'll see what I mean. So double stick, we can say it comes in two varieties, right? Drills that start in open position and where we use the same hand repeatedly, and then drills that start in the closed or the chambered position where the hands alternate, right? So in open position, we have 4 count, right? And that means 2 counts on the right side, 2 counts on the left side, okay? So that would be like inward, backhand, and then inward, backhand. So that's open 4, right? In 6 count drills, we can have inward, backhand, backhand, and inward, backhand, backhand, right? So 4 count or 6 count, but for our purposes, we're gonna cut that in half and we're gonna talk about 2 count drills and 3 count drills, right? Stick with me, okay? Then the other thing to consider is not the directions, right? As in inward or backhand, but now the levels as in high or low. Okay, so all of this you got to keep in mind. One way to use that is stick with me, very good gunner, right? 2 hit punching combinations, like Bruce Lee says, page 106 of the Tao, right? He says, for example, try a left to the stomach and then left cross, right? So he's talking, of course, about being right lead. So you hit low and then you hit high. That's exactly what we were talking about a few seconds ago in Kali double stick, because when we do 2 count, you can go high high, you can go high low, you can go low low, or you can go low high, right? Now, this thing gets ridiculous, and I remember Paul Vunak is the guy who first, I think, popularized this for a lot of us in the JKD and the Kali world, right? And Mark Stewart, my good friend and JKD colleague, he was talking about this today also. We were on, I think it was a post on, you can follow it over on Chris Kent's page, right? So we were talking about 3 count also. 3 count patterns can go what? High, 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 low, high, low, high, or high, low, low. And then the low series can go low, 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 high, low, high, low, or low, high, high, right? And again, we're talking about what? Inward, backhand, and backhand. So not everything is suitable for everything else, but there's definitely still a lot of investigation that can go on there. The Paul Vunak reference that I'm making is that Paul was the one for, I mean, I learned it first through him. And he said, so we have these 8 basics. But the 8 basics can expand into 64 basics, because what you do on the right side, you can stick to one pattern on the right side, and then on the left side, you can go through all 8. Then you go to pattern number 2 on the right side, and you go through all 8 on the left, and so on and so forth. Then all you have to do to get to 128 patterns is to switch and start on the left side. And then all you have to do to get to 256 patterns is to do that again, but use one single footwork pattern, When you use a second footwork pattern, I think that takes you to 512, and then you add something else, and now you're at 1024, and then you keep going on and on and on and on and on. And that is the thing, and I will always credit Paul Vunak for this, that is the thing that really clued me in to the mind expansiveness, the mental expansiveness that is contained in the Filipino art of Kali, right? Anyhow, that's an aside, right? So, here's what I want to do, right? That inward backhand motion. So if we stick to one hand, that would be something like I hit straight line with the jab, then maybe I hit with the hook, and then maybe I hit with the uppercut, right? So that's what I was talking about when we go inward backhand, and then left side for 6 count. We cut that in half to 3 count. Now we take that away from stick work and make it into punching, and now you can come up with hitting from different angles with the same hand in a 3 count, okay? So that's one part of it. Now the other part of it is this. When we go to the closed motion, so we'll cut it in half again. So we're not going to look at heaven 6. We're going to look at heaven 3. So basic heaven 3 is what? Inward, backhand, backhand. Agreed? I hope I didn't get that wrong, right? So a lot of people, right? Oh, I got to tell you this funny story, right? I won't name the name of the late Grandmaster because I don't want to make it seem as if I'm putting down anyone. But you know, in the early days when Filipino martial arts started to become popular, I don't even have this in my notes to talk about. But when Filipino martial arts started getting popular, one of the things that raised it head and shoulders above everything else was that translation from weapon to empty hand. There were some seriously ridiculous people that tried to show this patty cake nonsense as an application for empty hand. So you slap in like this, and then you slap down like this, and then you slap up here again. I mean, it was the stupidest thing, but at least they were trying to make the connection between weapon and empty hands. Anyhow, let's move on. So here's another JKD Rebel concept for you. It is the difference in Filipino Kali when we're trying to move between weapon and empty hand. It is the difference between what I call a direct translation and an interpretation of the movement. So let's look at it again. Inward, backhand, backhand. That's heaven 3. You will see people translate that movement into this. Parry, check, and hit. It's the inward, backhand, backhand. Agreed? That is a direct translation of the movement of the weapon. Now if you analyze it, so now we're going to put the JKD filter on it. When I go parry, my first motion is passive. When I go check, my second motion is also passive, and then my third motion is the active motion, that's the hit. So we have 3 motions and 1 hit. By JKD standards, that might not be the most efficient type of movement. Now, if it's a weapon, if I'm whacking you in the hand or cutting you with the blade on first motion, that's something different. But we're talking about translating or interpreting empty hands from weapons motion. So what you do is you change it. So if I'm in right lead, I do not parry with my right hand. I parry instead with my left hand. So that's the inward. Then that's the backhand, and that's the other backhand. Now here's the funny thing. When I made these notes earlier today, it was before we had that discussion, right, on Chris Kent's page. And here's what we were talking about. And I was talking with a new friend of mine, and I think his Facebook handle is Der Hunder, but I don't think that's his real name. Beverly Pratka and Gunnar Davis could probably clue me in on that. I don't think that's his real name. Anyhow, he was talking about different types of blast. I'm pretty sure it was him. I hope I didn't mess that up, right? But I'm pretty sure it was him. right? And he talked about the back fist blast. I had not heard of the back fist blast before. But if you think about it, when I parry like this, and then I hit backhand and backhand, now if I just keep doing that, that is the back fist blast. So I made that connection from what Dur was saying earlier today with the notes that I had already written hours before about, because I was just going to say that the weave-in motions of Sinawali, of Heaven 6, that they lend themselves very well to the traditional like Wing Chun straight blast, right? Because speed is another one of the qualities or attributes, hand speed, that that double stick training can give you, right? So I hope I didn't lose you guys on that. But I really dig what Dur said about the back fist blast, right? So again, I'm in this lead. The inward is with the rear hand, and if you think about it, in JKD 4-corner parrying, right? Basically, lead hand is supposed to do most of the offending. Rear hand is supposed to do most of the defending. So the inward is with the rear hand, and then we can go into hitting and hitting. So now we have 3 motions and 2 hits. Obviously, we can expand on that, but we will expand on that in another issue, right? And then the other thing is this. There's more on this double stick thing that can be applied to kickboxing, but I'm going to leave it up to you to investigate that on your own, right? Or alternatively, you can send me an email to jkdrebel@gmail.com, because when I finish this series, if I ever finish it, right, I'm going to do the video rendition of everything that we discussed, right? And so in there, I'll add the kickboxing element that can be enhanced from double stick training. But you got to send me an email at jkdrebel.com, or maybe even just put it in the comments here on today's video, right? And I'll add you to the notification list for that, right? Okay, so I hope that this really generates some conversation here, and you know, maybe you guys will, you know, go ahead, comment, ask questions. Let's turn this into a discussion. Sign up for notifications for when we go live here on Facebook and when we post the final edit video on the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at which one is which? Dwight Woods on Twitter, Dwight D Woods on Instagram. ilovejeetkundo.com, the Quick Skill Series Volume 1 still available. Coming up on Friday, May 24th. I still have to confirm the time, but it will be Jeet Kune Dialogues episode number 68, I believe, with David and Linda Hatch of Attributive Martial Arts. So that's this Friday, May 24th. Today is a black and white or a gray shirt. And since we were talking about double stick, I figured what the heck, right? So that's it. I'll see you back here next week, same time for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.